This is the lovely cotton sateen fabric that I picked up at Mood Fabrics online. I now have to say online now that I discovered that they're separate. But I want to make a pair of trousers with these, a pair of pants that are really going to highlight how beautiful this fabric is. I love it. I'm also thinking that this is one, while I love this pattern and this design, I sort of want the front pant leg to just be the flowers, for this to be the waistband, and for this to be on the side panel. So I might have to like cut this up into pieces and then patchwork them together, which would mean that I would line the pants. So I will update you to see how that goes. But as far as options, I have never made a pair of trousers with a fly front closure. I am so afraid of them. I watch videos on YouTube all the time, just like preparing myself and saying, you can do it, it's okay. And I watch them to give myself that vote of confidence, but I'm really afraid of them. I think this is the year. These are my two sides. This is the initial leg. And this is it after I've sort of slimmed it down. Definitely leaning towards this side. There's a lot of bulk on the side seam because I haven't graded anything down yet. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and slim it to that. Very happy with that. And I did a fly front and it doesn't look wonky. I'm so proud of this. All right. I don't know if you could, yeah, you could definitely tell the difference, right? Good job. I finished the bottoms of Simplicity S9114, and this wool crepe was one that I picked up and thrifted, I think possibly 2 years ago, and it's been in my stash and I didn't know what to do with it. But these pants are so delightful in here. I made a front fly closure. I'm so proud of this make. The only So that was a successful cutting day. So using the measurements that I had taken in my notebook earlier, I think I needed to cut about 16 of the floral backgrounds, 12 of this strip that's gonna go on the side, and then 3 of the waistband fabric. So I've done that. And what I've done here is I've laid out the back pattern piece of Simplicity 9114. I have decided to actually modify this and just use it. This is like an ankle length. I'm gonna make mine full length. So I have the back piece because that's often the widest. I have that at the bottom and I just used it to kind of lay out the fabrics to make sure that I have the right width of all of the pieces. So this is how I plan to kind of patch them together. I made sure to cut them each with about a 3/8 of an inch overlap so I can just run it through my serger and have none of these seams visible and none of these side seams visible either. And then I'll top stitch them in place because this is a really busy print and background. Hopefully with a black top stitching you won't see it. This little piece here is because the crotch kind of extends a little bit beyond here. So I'll also, for the 2 back pieces, leg pieces, I'll include like a little cut out there just to fill that in so I can cut the right crotch curve. And yeah, I'm going to try to incorporate the darts in the floral piece so that the stripe piece on the side can be as straight as possible. And I'm going to have this pattern at the very bottom. This is also the motif that's going to be at the waistband, so I want that mirrored on both ends. I just have to do another, once I seam everything together, then I'll lay the pattern piece on top and make sure I have the length that I want. And here's the front pattern piece. So as you can see, that would fit really nicely when the pieces are kind of together. So it would go and be a really nice fit. I'm gonna do mine more of a straight leg, so I won't taper mine in as much as this pattern is. So while the kids are napping, I'm gonna go ahead and retrace this out on some fresh paper, transfer all of the markings, and get it so that the lines are the way that I want. This is the other back panel. I know that because it has the extension piece. These two will be the additional front panels. This is what I have left over. So some of the just strips that I had to cut in order to cut out all of the floral print, and then like a larger remnant piece. So I'm really excited to see what I can come up with to use the rest of that, but that's a later project. So I'm gonna go ahead and start adapting my pattern pieces now. So I'm so happy that I made a wearable toile of these pants that I just drafted today, springboarding from the Miniji S9114. I even forgot to put my pockets, but like we're not even at the pocket stage. I was pin basting it and got really scared because I felt like it wasn't gonna fit, and then I took it out and did this whole situation. But now, like, I have room, so I don't know if I was just like afraid for nothing. I was messing with the crotch area, like the crotch curve in the front on the pattern that I have, and I don't know how happy I am with this. It's way too much like excess fabric. I wanted it to be more straight leg than wide leg, and I got the inseam completely wrong. Like, this is dragging. So I don't need that. Anyway, I'm feeling a little bit defeated. It's much later than I care to share, but what I think I could do that could be successful is just start piecing together the fabric for the different leg panels since I cut them out earlier today. I think I'm getting closer to a fit that I like. I really am. Doing the fly front zipper is not as daunting to me anymore. This is the second pair of trousers that I've made with them. I've been working on getting the leg to fit the way that I want, with the fullness that I want without being too flared. I've been working on different types of pleats in the front. So basically what I did in this pattern is I took the two pleats that it comes with and I like folded it so that it has the same width of overlap, but I absorbed that into one pleat, which for me looks so much sleeker for this style of pant. You can see I'm playing around with the slant pocket. So I haven't cut the pieces and adapted them fully yet, so there's a lot of overlap that's creating some bulk in this pocket. So as you can see, lots of scribbles, lots of, edits, and while it sort of annoyed me at first, the fact that I still don't have a pair of trousers, I am steadily reminding myself that this year it's all about that intentionality. To you with an update on progress for my trousers. I have changed the needles in my serger and had started serging. I'm no longer getting those runs. And initially, because this print is so busy and floral, I thought I could get away with just serging them together and not really caring about placement. However, I did try doing that, and it, for me, again, very up close and personal with this project, it was very noticeable. So I'm going back and actually pattern matching. This is not for the faint of hearts, especially with a floral print. So I had to kind of find where they lined up and make sure I'm not losing too much fabric, because I had already measured out how many panels of each of these I need to go together. But as you can see here, if I run a line of stitching right there, you can kind of see how the flowers and the print just kind of continues on. And I had practiced with two different types of ways of finishing those, or joining them together, I should say. And as I mentioned, my initial thought process was to just run it through the serger, press it really nice and neat. And while this is the waistband piece, while I think I might keep it that way for the waistband, see, I tried to pattern match here as well. Gonna go and clean that up. However, when I tried to do it for the floral print, with all the joins that it's going to have, it was quite bulky. I mean, even for the waistband it's bulky, but since that's going to be interfaced and folded over, I'm not too concerned. It's a very thin piece. So instead, for the pant legs, I think I'm going to sew it on my sewing machine and then open it flat and top stitch it. So I tried to see what it would look like with the top stitching. Like, would I completely hate it? From far away, I can kind of see that line there. I'm gonna toy with it. I have to see what I feel, but I think that might be the way that I go. I finished my wearable toile. Well, finished, that's a strong word. I did the wearable toile last night. I think I will make these pants without the pocket. While I appreciate how it turned out in the navy, I don't think I need it in this, and it's gonna be hard to try and fiddle with pattern matching this, which is going to be in the side seam, so I'm not interested in doing that. I am also pattern matching these diamond shapes here as well, so taking my time to do that, because also I had just serged it and they were off and I did not like that. So I'm going to be pattern matching everything. Thank goodness for my new quilting skills. All right, so we've made some progress on the fabric prep right here. So this is basically how things would be outlined. I do want to include some piping to break up the parts of the pattern. So this would be sort of like the back of the leg, the side strip, another side strip, and then the front of the leg. So let me move that aside and see what it would look like with the black piping. That. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. I think I'm gonna go with black. It'll just make it universal, possibly, and a bit easier to pair with other things, maybe. And I definitely have tons of that, so I'll go with the black. I have this sewing foot, and that's what I'm going to use to kind of push in the piping or the cording inside of the fabric, and then stitch along the length of that. So the quest for the perfect trouser still continues, and look at what I did. I cut out a third pair. That's right, toiling a third pair of trousers. But this is now with all of the edits that I made to the S9114. After 2 rounds of changes, I just want to test this out and make sure before I start dipping into the main fabric. So I purchased these 2 cotton sateens together, actually. These were from my birthday mood fabric haul. I'm not as, keen on this fabric. It came more pastel than I was expecting it to. I thought they were going to be richer, deeper colors, but it's more pastel. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to use them. I do think that I would wear these as trousers because it's further from my face, and I'm really excited to sew these up. Now that I have the edits, my goal is to sew it without testing it on and doing all of that. It should, in theory, be able to be sewn up, and then at the end I just try them on and they fit. So lots of basting stitches possibly, but that is what I'm going to do because I want to make sure that they are correct before I start sewing up these babies and figuring out if what I want to do about the side panels and whatnot. Wish me luck. I really hope that future me is so proud because current me is annoyed. So let's go ahead into toile number 3. Hi friends, it's Wednesday and I am just taking a few minutes because I want to make some progress on these trousers today. The kiddos are playing a game. So I wanted to put piping between the floral print and this diamond grid here. So what I'm going to actually do, just for like my sanity, I want the piping to kind of sit right here so that it's halving, like right halfway through the diamond. So in order to do that, I'm actually going to sew the piping with the piping side facing the fabric down this way, because I can then see it accurately and make sure that it's placed exactly where I want it. Then I'm going to sandwich that on top of the floral print fabric. Great job. And then use the line that I see on the reverse side to guide me and attach it to the floral print. Then I should be able to fold it over and have a beautifully piped seam. Can you tell a major difference between these two at all? So I just finished doing the piping on one leg, and I have this one without piping because I just wanted to see if there was a noticeable difference. I guess on camera I can tell, but then again, I'm looking for it. Here's what I have to say. I went ahead and put in the piping, and it was not an easy thing to do. You can see how many like rows of stitching I had to do in some places just to like make sure it was in the right place. And what it's doing, it's creating quite a bit of bulk where numerous seams are meeting, which is unfortunate. And this fabric, I don't know if I've already mentioned this, it was not perfectly on grain where it was printed on the fabric because it's just printed on top. Some of these grid lines were not perfectly parallel to the selvage. So as you're cutting, you did have some bits that were kind of, well, just not on grain, right? So I'm ending up with some of this like a little bit of waviness, and I don't know if it's worth trying to put in piping that's maybe not as noticeable. I don't know, and end up with wavy lines and heavy seams and, you know, puckered fabric. It's also taking a really long time. So I just basted this one just to test it out and see what it looks like. So these are just like large basting stitches. It's a lot flatter where these seams are joined and meeting, of course, because you don't have the bulk of the bias binding and all of that. Anyways, all of this to say, I might just not do the piping, which kind of annoys me. The fabric's sewn up so I can at least cut the fabric. I did pattern matching with the flowers. Can you tell? Look at that. I took the time to pattern match even the floral print. I'm a little bit crazy, but I really want this project to be successful, which is why this part is kind of bugging me. And what I ended up doing for the back, instead of sewing on top of it like I did for this gridded part, I just took my knit interfacing and just like pressed it to serve as a barrier so those edges would not fray, and that way I didn't have to have visible stitching and it could be really nice and secure on the inside. I think I will be lining these pants so that all of this insides I never have to see, but now I'm wishing that I never stitched these sections. Additionally, what I want to share is that these two stripes will be meeting in the side seams. I'm matching these sections, like this is what I want to pattern match on the side of the leg, of the pant leg. So I'm not going to be matching these seams here. As you can see, they don't match up. What I'm focused on is matching these two seams. Wish me luck. We have finally reached the cutting phase. So I have the two back pieces. What I decided to do was to not add piping to the back. This not only helps me distinguish the back from the front, because the front does have piping, but it will also, it just made it a little bit easier because I could not unpick the piping from the original front piece. Now I'm ready to cut out, and what's really scaring me is the fact that my pattern piece is coming up short. So I just folded it to wherever the fabric stops so that I can hopefully just do it that way. And it barely, like, it just makes it if I do that length. So anyways, that's how I'm gonna cut it. What I think I'm gonna do to make sure that they match and that they're mirrored images is to flip this piece on top of this piece and cut them out, just so I get the borders matching up. Right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and start getting things cut out so I can start sewing tomorrow. Wish me luck. And then just this weekend, I went ahead and made a third toile. So it's the same longer, wider leg that I did, and I also altered the pocket and made it just a bit nicer, a bit more curved, if you will, to really lay flat. And I raised how high it went, so really nice little pocket. I also kind of curved in the waistband so that I wouldn't have a gaping in my back, and that was pretty nice on this one. I did a lot as far as like pattern matching, so I was very mindful about sort of pattern placement, if you will, for this pair. Friends, it's a new day. We are back with the trousers. I am coming to you because I think I've reached a decision-making point that I kind of wanted to share with you all, and that is, I made the pants, constructed them fully, have been trying them on, taking them off, and I think I've reached the conclusion that, sincerely, the pleated front was just creating too much excess space and bubble, and it did not fit the way that I wanted to, at least the way that this came out for whatever reason. And what I would actually prefer is a flat front. I am not doing the pocket in this version because trying to match this was creating more of a headache than was necessary, and I own trousers that don't have pockets, and for those particular ones, it's never bothered me. So I have this pant pattern that I had drafted in 2020 from a See-and-Sew pattern, which I will insert the names of those. What I'm going to do is lay them on top of each other and see how much excess in the Altered Simplicity S914 pattern there is, and kind of mark that to see if it seems like it would be reasonable or feasible for me to remove it from the pant. So what I'm going to do is just try and line up the crotch curve and just use that to see what the excess is. Mark that out up until the hip point, because of course the legs will be different. This was sort of a cigarette leg, a slim line, and this is a wide or straight leg. So I just want it to match up from the hip up to the waistline. And then where I think I'm going to remove it, I can't actually remove it at the side seam because I think it would be kind of silly to try and remove an inch from here when I already have so much going on, and it would be more noticeable. What I think I might do is go inside and unpick where I have the piping and these two fabrics joined and remove it from the floral print. Then I would reinstall the piping, serge it back, and then I would just need to insert one dart. I think it might work. It seems kind of silly to have gone through all of this work and to undo it, but it looked really bad to the point where I had to unpick the whole thing yesterday. And I don't think I have any video or photos because there was so much going on yesterday, but you have to take my word for it. Let's just hope this works. Hi friends. Okay, so I wanted to come to you with the trousers on. I am so sorry I forgot to record when it still had the pleats in. This is the converted pleats to dart that I tested out. However, it's not going to work. The issue that I'm having is that it's creating a lot more fullness, a lot of excess fabric in the front that I want to remove. So hopefully I had previously explained this. I'm using the altered sew pattern that I had adapted in 2020, and I use that to determine what the front pant leg should look like. So what I did was unpicked. You can see sort of where the piping has been unpicked. So I unpicked the piping and detached these two fabrics, and I took out the excess fabric. You can see the excess here. And because I haven't committed to it yet, I just wanted to test it out. I still have that excess fabric, so I can transfer it to the other side. But for now, I went ahead and curved that in and added a dart. Hopefully you can see here, or maybe hopefully you cannot see, but where you see the leaf sort of turning, this is where my dart is. And I just copied the dart length from the sew pattern. Now I do still think that I have a bit, like just a tiny bit of fullness that I probably want to figure out how to remove a little bit. So I'm thinking about maybe instead of starting right here, this is where I started, to go a little bit lower and then bring that seam in just a touch so that it removes that excess fullness and gives me a flat front all the way. And I think I'd be more happy with that. Everything is basted right now, so of course the point of the dart isn't as smooth as it will be when I go in with my actual stitch length. On this end, I kept this in as it was just to kind of demonstrate for you the fullness that I'm trying to remove. I hope some of this makes sense, but just wanted to kind of come in while we were in progress mode. And I come to you in the spirit of perseverance, of progress, and I am hopeful that these will come out wearable. I've been also utilizing my trim, so I decided to add it as a detail, as a little feature here at the bottom, all the way up and down the leg, as well as using my piping. So we're getting there. I am going to leave them long length, but you will see that a little bit later. You like my socks? Yeah, so I'm going to leave them long. I think they might work. I'm just going to use a facing because it's not long enough for me to turn them up. So I'm going to create a facing, and then that's how I'm going to finish off the bottoms. So we are going to try our best and make them work. I'm almost done with the trousers. It's another day. I've put the waistband on. I just went ahead and opened up the waistband a little bit because I decided that I want to insert a bit of elastic right in the back, just in that center back, almost between sort of where the darts in the back are, or from the edge of the join in the pant leg. You can kind of see where it's going to start here, and this is where it's going to end. And I'm inserting that because as I was wearing it, it's still giving me a bit of gaping in the back. Even though I tried to do a bit of curving here, I didn't do enough. And I really didn't want to overfit the trousers and then, you know, have my waistline fluctuate or what have you, and have to be uncomfortable. So I figured maybe a little bit of elastic wouldn't hurt. It's not like super drastic, but it would be enough just to kind of let that sit flat against my body, hopefully. And because this whole back piece here is just the dark floral print, I don't think a lot of that rippling or any of the bunching will be significant enough where that would be too bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish threading that through. So what I tend to do is go ahead and stitch it in place. This is a trick that I do with some of my like ready to wear jeans that I have to take in at the waist as well. They're done. As of last night, they're completely finished. Look at my new babies. I ended up going with the like bar and hook closure instead of buttons, so I added 2 of those, which gives a really nice secure finish. Yeah, we did it. So this was the vision, to have all of these prints strategically placed. We persevered, we progressed, and we put in fly front zippers. I am really happy, and the confidence these trousers alone have given me is humongous.